Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really grabbing hold of something pretty central, compassion. But we're looking at it through, well, a less common lens, non-dual Buddhist teaching.
Right. Which definitely shifts things.
Yeah, our goal isn't to sort of tear down compassion, obviously, but maybe redefine it. Move past just thinking of it as basic kindness or, feeling sorry for someone.
It's deeper than that in this view.
What really jumps out from the material we looked at is this paradox at the heart of it.
Yeah.
Compassion, Karua, is absolutely crucial for awakening in Buddhism, right?
Absolutely. Essential. One of the highest qualities.
But then the non-dual view says it's also full and empty, which sounds confusing.
It does initially. How can it be both vital and just a concept?
Exactly. So that's our mission today, I think, to unpack that tension. How can something so core also be empty?
Well, maybe we should start with the standard definition first, just to ground ourselves.
Good idea.
So conventionally, everyone pretty much agrees, right? Compassion is that genuine wish for others to be free from suffering.
Empathy in action, basically.
Yeah.
Kindness, care.
Exactly. And in traditional Buddhism, it's one of the four immeasurables, often paired with wisdom. It's a cornerstone of the awakened heart.
Okay, a simple nut.
But the moment non-duality enters the picture, that simple understanding starts to wobble.
How so?
We have to see that this quality, this ideal of being compassionate, it's conditioned itself. It's not some pure fixed thing out there.
Okay, so the idea of compassion isn't static.
Not at all. It's an idea, a label that changes based on context, cause, relationship, everything. It's not absolute.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so where do we start unpacking that? The sources point to dependent origination first, don't they? Pratyekasamutpada.
Yes, that's the philosophical heavyweight, as you called it. It's fundamental.
And it basically says, correct me if I'm wrong, that nothing exists in isolation. Everything depends on everything else.
Precisely. Nothing has independent existence. It all arises together based on causes and conditions.
The classic example is the flower, right? It's not just a flower.
Exactly. It is the sunlight, it is the rain, the specific soil, the air, the microbes. You can't separate the flower from its conditions. Take away any of them, and there's no flower.
Okay, I get that for a flower. But how does that apply to us, to human behavior?
Well, that's where it gets really radical. If you extend that principle that everything is interconnected and arises from conditions to our thoughts, feelings, actions, whether it's anger, greed, fear, or even generosity, if all of that is just the product of an incredibly complex web of prior conditions.
Like genetics, upbringing, culture, maybe even the weather today.
All of it, yes. Then the very basis for assigning individual blame, it just dissolves completely.
Whoa. Okay, hang on. Blame dissolves.
Think about it. We usually assume someone freely chose an unkind act, right, from a place of independent free will.
Yeah, that's the default assumption.
But the non-dual view asks us to pause. That action emerged from specific causes and conditions, maybe past trauma, cultural norms, lack of sleep, a difficult childhood, something. Given that exact web of conditions that person inherited and experienced, could they actually have acted any differently in that precise moment?
That's a tough question. It feels like it removes responsibility. If my actions are just conditions, am I off the hook? Am I just a puppet?
That's the key tension, isn't it? It's not about saying actions don't matter or don't have consequences. They absolutely do.
Right.
But the shift is from judging the actor as inherently flawed or bad to understanding the conditions that gave rise to the action and the suffering.
So less focus on who did it and more on what led to this.
Exactly. True responsiveness, true compassion, perhaps, comes not from blaming the individual, but from seeing that whole tangled web that produced the suffering.
Okay, so if we really take that insight on board, compassion changes, doesn't it? It stops being a moral duty I perform to feel like a good person.
Precisely. It's not about you being superior to the person suffering because you would have chosen differently.
It becomes what? Just something that happens.
It becomes a spontaneous outflowing of that insight, a deep gut-level recognition, given the same history, the same genes, the same moment, I would be them. I would be doing that.
I see. So the compassion isn't me deciding to be kind to them. It's the recognition of shared conditioning.
Yes. That shared vulnerability, that shared dependence on conditions, that is the karyu. It arises naturally from seeing clearly.
So it's not forced morality.
No.
It's an effective wisdom.
It's the natural expression of wisdom, yes.
Okay, that makes sense for the action. But what about the idea of compassion itself? You said earlier the concept isn't fixed either.
Right. That leads us to the next piece. the fluidity of concepts.
Meaning the word compassion itself is slippery.
Totally slippery. Like any concept, it's just a placeholder. We try to fix its definition, but we can't. Why? Because reality is relative.
What looks compassionate to me might not look compassionate to you.
Exactly, or might even look harmful from another perspective, or at a different time. It depends entirely on your own conditioning, your values, your viewpoint.
That feels really tricky for, like, everyday ethics, though. Let's take that example from the source material. Giving money to a struggling friend.
Okay.
Your intention is pure kindness, right? You want to ease their immediate pain. That feels like compassion.
Straightforward enough.
But what if, looking back or looking at the bigger picture, that financial support actually enables their dependency, stops them from finding their own feet, building resilience? Was the act really compassionate then? Or was it maybe unintentionally harmful in the long run? Kindness or enabling?
The label completely shifts depending on the time frame, the context, the values you prioritize. There's no single absolute answer.
Okay.
And that's why the teaching of emptiness, shunyata, is so vital here.
Emptiness.
Right.
Right. So this doesn't mean compassion is nothing or doesn't exist.
No, not at all. It doesn't mean don't be kind. Emptiness means it lacks inherent fixed existence. It doesn't have a permanent, solid, unchanging essence.
It can't be perfectly defined or bottled.
Exactly. And crucially, its effect can't be guaranteed. You can act with the best intentions, but you can't ensure a compassionate outcome. It's empty of that certainty.
I could see how that might feel unsettling for people. If kindness can backfire and compassion is just a shifting concept, how do we avoid getting stuck? Like, if we can't even define good, how do we act?
But that's the flip side. Recognizing this is actually incredibly liberating.
Liberating? How?
Because if we cling too tightly to a rigid definition, this is what compassion looks like, and my action must fit this box, we get paralyzed when reality inevitably doesn't match our ideal.
Okay.
Recognizing emptiness frees us from that rigidity. We stop trying to perform compassion according to a script. Instead, we can just respond freshly to whatever's actually happening right now.
Even if it's messy or doesn't fit the label?
Even if it's clumsy, even if we fail by some standard. We're free from having to be the perfect compassionate actor. We can just be present and respond as best we can.
Okay. That's a different way to look at it. So let's push this even further then into what the sources call the ultimate non-dual paradox.
Right. Taking it all the way.
If concepts like compassion are fluid, non-duality says all the distinctions we make, self and other, giver and receiver, even good and bad, compassion and cruelty, they're all just conceptual overlays, mental labels.
Exactly. They're useful tools for navigating the world, but they're not fundamental reality. They're painted onto a seamless, interconnected whole.
So beneath the labels, what is there?
Just what's happening, experience unfolding, life flowing. If everything arises interdependently from conditions, then whatever occurs, a kind word, a harsh criticism, a wave of sadness, a burst of joy, it couldn't have been otherwise in that moment. It all emerges from the same unified flow.
And crucially, there's no separate me inside driving the ship.
In that ultimate view, no. There's no independent agent standing apart from the flow, making a personal, ego-driven choice. Now I will be compassionate.
So the urge to help arises, the action happens.
But there's no little self-claiming ownership saying, I did that good deed, or agonizing over whether it was perfectly compassionate. It's just life expressing itself through this particular form.
I imagine that non-agentic view is where a lot of people might go, wait, what? We feel like we choose our actions.
We absolutely feel that way. And on a conventional level, we make choices constantly.
But if we accept, even intellectually, that the choice itself is conditioned, that really changes how we see the results of our actions, doesn't it?
Dramatically.
We usually assume compassionate intention, good outcome. But the world's way more complicated.
Absolutely. Our sources hammer this home.
An act intended with pure compassion might inadvertently cause harm down the line. We just don't know all the ripples.
And conversely, something that feels harsh, maybe even unkind in the moment.
Like that strict teacher example.
Exactly. The teacher who pushes you hard, challenges you, maybe seems unkind. That very challenge could be the catalyst for incredible growth, profound healing, or insight later on.
What felt like cruelty becomes liberation.
It can. We can't possibly calculate all those infinite, intricate ripple effects. Our minds aren't built for it.
So real responsiveness, maybe real karoo, has to come from admitting we don't know.
Yes, from a place of not knowing. resting in the humility that we can't grasp the full consequences of anything.
And when we stopped trying to label every action, was that compassionate enough? Did it count? Maybe we find more freedom to just act.
That's the space. That's where wisdom, seeing the emptiness and interdependence, meets compassion, the natural response to suffering. They are wise together from that openness.
Okay, this feels like a good point to try and synthesize things. Let's compare the sort of normal view of compassion, how most of us probably think about it, with this non-dual view we've been exploring.
Good idea. Let's crystallize the differences.
So first, the source of compassion. The normal view sees it as like an individual choice, right?
Yeah.
Something I achieve through effort, through being virtuous.
Right. It's volitional effort by a separate self.
But the non-dual view says it arises naturally, spontaneously, when that insight into dependent origination dissolves blame. It's an effect of seeing clearly, not a cause of me being good.
Exactly. It's not something you do to be good. It's what happens when you see things as they are.
Okay, then identity. This is huge. The normal view seems to really strengthen my sense of self. I am the helper, I am kind, I am compassionate.
Maintaining that good person story becomes important.
Whereas the non-dual view just pulls the rug out from under that.
Yeah.
No separate permanent self is performing the action.
Right. It's just the impersonal flow of life. The action happens, but without the baggage of, I am doing this, or this makes me good. Letting go of needing to be the compassionate one is actually part of the freedom.
Wow. Okay. And finally, the view on outcomes. The normal view kind of demands positive results, doesn't it? If my compassionate act doesn't reduce suffering, I feel like I failed. Or maybe it wasn't real compassion.
There's an expectation tied to it, a need for it to work.
But the non-dual view says outcomes. Well, they just can't be known for sure. We act from insight, from care, but we have to let go of controlling the results.
We surrender the expectation. What looks kind might harm. What looks harsh might liberate. You act, but you release the story about whether it was successful according to your limited view.
That's where wisdom and compassion really lock together then.
That's their inseparable union. Wisdom sees the emptiness, the lack of fixed identity or predictable outcome. Compassion responds to the immediate reality of suffering with care.
They keep each other in balance.
Perfectly. Wisdom stops compassion from becoming rigid, sentimental, or self-righteous about its own goodness. And compassion stops wisdom from becoming cold, aloof, or detached indifference.
So living from this non-conceptual space doesn't mean you stop being kind or generous.
Not at all. If anything, those qualities can flow more freely, more resiliently, because they aren't being performed to tick a box or prop up an identity.
They're just life happening.
Yeah.
Without the constant self-assessment.
Yes. The play of life without the anxiety of, am I doing it right? Am I compassionate enough?
Okay, so as we wrap up, thinking about compassion this way, it really changes how we see our own judgments too.
Absolutely. Compassion becomes like a mirror.
A mirror. How?
When you find yourself strongly judging an action, oh, that was so compassionate, or that was utterly cruel and unkind, pause. What you're actually seeing reflected back are your own values, your own conditioning, your own expectations about how life should be, your own concepts of right and wrong. You're not seeing the absolute nature of the act itself because it has no absolute nature. You're seeing your own mind.
That's quite a turnaround. So the judgment reveals more about me than the action.
In this view, yes.
So the core understanding, maybe the takeaway, is that compassion is both things at once. It's essential, this guiding light towards connection and care. But it's also empty, a concept, a label that we can't pin down or possess.
Precisely. And if you try to cling too tightly to the concept of compassion, to the label,
You miss the actual open, responsive reality it's pointing toward.
you miss the spaciousness, yes. You get stuck on the word instead of embodying the openness.
Which leads to maybe a final thought, something for you, the listener, to consider.
Maybe the deepest compassion isn't about striving to achieve some perfect, saintly ideal of kindness.
What is it then?
Maybe it's the willingness to let life be exactly as it is in this moment. Gentle and fierce, kind and unkind, messy and clear, successful and failing. All of it.
Without needing it to fit our neat concepts or moral ideals.
Exactly. Just allowing the whole unfolding reality, including our own responses, without judgment, without needing to fix it or label it perfectly. That radical acceptance, that spaciousness. Perhaps that's the purest expression of care there is, just letting be.